Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's great to be here.
Today we're tackling something that I think every single person listening, and honestly definitely me, and probably you too, regardless of how zen you look over there,
I have my moments.
deals with on a daily basis. It's that universal exhausting struggle, you know the one.
Oh, yes.
It's that constant frantic cycle where we're desperately trying to banish anything that feels like pain or discomfort, while at the same time we're just clawing at anything that feels like pleasure or happiness.
The hedonistic treadmill, as they call it.
Exactly. It feels like we're running toward the good stuff and running away from the bad stuff, but we never actually get anywhere. We just get tired.
You really don't.
It's like trying to outrun your own shadow while trying to catch a sunbeam. And the sources we're looking at today, they're essentially telling us that the treadmill itself, the running, is the problem.
It is the defining dilemma of the human condition, isn't it? We spend our entire lives trying to curate our external circumstances. We have the subconscious algorithm running, in the background of our minds.
Right.
If I can just get this promotion, or if I can just fix this relationship, or if I can just stop feeling this specific anxiety, then I will be at peace.
Then. Always then.
Always then. We treat peace as a destination that we arrive at once the world finally arranges itself the way we want it to.
Right. It's completely conditional. I'll be okay when. I'll be okay when the bank account hits a certain number. I'll be okay when my boss finally acknowledges my work. It's always out there in the future.
But the sources we're looking at today suggest that this entire premise is flawed.
How so?
The core thesis we're exploring is, well, it's counterintuitive and, frankly, a bit radical. It suggests that true peace isn't found by fixing the external situation.
Okay.
It isn't found by successfully eliminating pain or permanently securing pleasure. It's found by changing where you stand in relation to it.
That is a massive shift. So we aren't trying to stop the storm. We are trying to find the eye of the storm.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And to do that, we have a really fascinating, eclectic stack of sources today. We are going on a bit of a theological and philosophical journey. We've got insights from the Qur'an, the Bible, the Dhammapada from Buddhism, and the Ashtavakra Gita from Hinduism.
It's a diverse stack, certainly. And you might think these texts, separated by centuries, vast cultural distances, and theological frameworks would be saying completely different things.
I would assume so, yeah.
But what's so remarkable is that they all converge on a singular truth about human consciousness. They all point toward a specific state of being.
And that is?
In Sanskrit, it's called the sakshi, or the witness.
The witness. I love that. It sounds almost, I don't know, detective-like. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want to set the vibe here for everyone listening. This isn't a deep dive about productivity hacks. We aren't going to tell you how to mind hack your way to a better salary or how to meditate so you can squeeze an extra hour of work out of your day. This is slower. This is about a fundamental shift in perception. It's about how we view the self. So let's take a breath. Let's slow down.
Precisely. This isn't about doing more. It's about understanding the architecture of your own internal world. It's like structural engineering for the soul.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our first stop is the Islamic perspective. We're looking at a specific verse from the Quran, Surah Qaf, verse 16. The source text quotes this line, "We created man, and we are closer to him than his jugular vein."
Wow.
Now stop there for a second. That is a visceral image. The jugular vein, that isn't just close. That's lifeblood. That's vulnerability. That's the pulse you feel in your neck when you're scared or excited.
It's an incredibly intimate, almost startling metaphor. And we really need to analyze what that proximity implies. In the West, and in a lot of modern secular thought, we often operate under what theologians call the God of the gaps.
The God of the gaps. Okay, walk me through that.
It's the idea that the divine or spiritual presence, however you want to frame it, is only relevant or present when we run out of explanations or when things fall apart. We tend to look for God when the doctor says there's nothing else they can do. When we're in deep pain, we cry out. When we're in need, we seek connection. It implies that God just fills the gaps in our otherwise self-sufficient lives.
Right, the foxhole atheist idea. You only start praying when the artillery starts falling.
Exactly.
But this verse seems to be saying something totally different. The jugular vein is there when you're sleeping, when you're running, when you're happy, when you're sad. It's continuous.
It is. The source emphasizes that closer than the jugular vein isn't conditional. It doesn't say, we are close when you are sad. It implies a constant, unbreakable proximity. And this challenges the human ego significantly.
How so?
Well, think about it. If the divine is close during your pain, then despair is unnecessary because you aren't alone. That's the comforting part that most people latch onto.
Okay, but surely there's a flip side to that. If it's constant, it's not just there for the bad times.
That's the kicker. The real challenge is this. If the divine is equally close during your pleasure, during your moments of high achievement, then getting lost in your own ego or pride is a form of blindness.
That's a really interesting flip. Usually when we're winning, when we get the promotion or the date goes well, we just feel fantastic. We think, I did this. This is me.
Yes.
We don't usually think about spiritual proximity then. We're too busy, celebrating ourselves.
We become intoxicated with the self. We think we're the source of the light rather than just a reflection of it. And that brings us to the second part of the Islamic perspective provided in our sources, the concept of the nafs.
The nafs.
This comes from Surah Ash-Shams, verses 7-9. The text discusses the self, or nafs, and the necessity of purifying it.
So help me define nafs in this context. Is it just the soul, or is it something more specific? Because I've heard that term used in a few different ways.
It's nuanced. In this context, it's closer to the lower self, or maybe the ego-driven self. The source material makes a crucial distinction here.
Okay.
The nafs isn't just the part of you that feels bad or wants to sin. It's the engine of all emotional volatility. The expert analysis in our source points out that the nafs generates the highs just as much as the lows.
So it's both.
It's both. It's responsible for desire, pride, and that intoxication of success we were just talking about.
The intoxication of success. That's a great phrase. It's like being drunk on your own good luck. But I have to ask, why is that a bad thing? Isn't it good to feel good? Are we saying we shouldn't enjoy the win?
It feels good, of course, but it's unstable. That intoxication is dangerous because it blinds you to reality. When you're drunk on success, you are just as lost as when you're drowning in failure.
Because you're not seeing clearly.
You're not.
Yeah.
And the source text defines real success, not as acquiring things or accolades, but as purifying the nafs.
Purifying it from what, exactly?
From the attachment to the volatility. The synthesis here is all about balance. The Islamic view presented isn't asking you to destroy your emotions. It's not saying don't feel joy.
Right.
It is saying, do not drown in sorrow and do not get drunk on joy. Recognize the nafs, that part of you that wants to scream with excitement or weep with despair. Recognize it, but don't be consumed by it. Don't let it drive the car.
So it's about having a handle on it, and the closer than the jugular vein part implies that there is a stable presence watching this nafs go up and down.
Yes, a presence that is steady while the nafs fluctuates. Think of the nafs as the weather, and that proximity is the sky. The weather changes violently, storms, sunshine, hail, but the sky holds it all without being damaged by the storm or improved by the sun. It just is.
That distinction between the weather and the sky, that leads us perfectly into the Christian perspective because we see a very similar dichotomy there, but with different vocabulary.
It's a very clear line.
We're looking at Romans 8:6. The verse reads, "The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace."
This is a heavy hitter in Christian theology.
Yeah.
And we need to be very careful with our definitions here because flesh, or sarx, in the original Greek, is so often misunderstood by modern listeners.
Right. The Sunday school definition usually boils it down to sexual sin or gluttony. It sounds very physical, like don't eat too much cake, that's the flesh.
Exactly. But in the source material we have and in the deeper theological context, it is much broader. Flesh here doesn't just mean your body. It represents the reactive nature.
Reactive nature.
It's very similar to the unpurified nafs we just discussed. The mind of the flesh is the part of the human psyche that is entirely transactional. It craves pleasure and it fears lack.
Okay.
It's the part of you that puffs up when you achieve something and shrinks down into nothingness when you fail. It is the ego that is entirely dependent on external validation.
And the verse says, this mind is death. That feels a bit extreme, doesn't it? Like if I get excited about a new car or if I'm worried about paying my rent, is that death?
Well, think about it psychologically rather than just biologically.
Yeah.
If your well-being is tied to the flesh, meaning it's tied to temporary external circumstances, you are constantly dying.
Constantly dying.
Every time a good mood fades, you die a little. Every time a compliment is forgotten, you wither. Every time the market crashes, your sense of self crashes with it. Constantly riding that roller coaster of emotional reaction is a form of spiritual death.
I see.
It is exhaustion. It's a lack of real existence because you're just a reflection of whatever's happening around you.
Wow. Okay, that That hits home. It's the death of stability. You're just a leaf blowing in the wind. If the wind stops, you drop. If the wind blows too hard, you get torn apart.
Precisely. You have no engine of your own. You are purely reactive. Now, contrast that with the spirit. The Source describes the mind governed by the spirit as life and peace. Notice the distinction. The spirit is situated in peace regardless of the external circumstance.
Regardless.
It connects right back to that Islamic concept.
Yeah.
Both traditions are pointing to a duality within us. There's a part of the human experience that is volatile, the flesh, the nafs, and a part that is stable, the spirit, the purified awareness.
So the spirit isn't checking its stock portfolio to see if it's happy today.
No, it is the bedrock. It exists underneath all the fluctuations. It is the thing that remains when the excitement fades and when the grief settles. It is the life that does not need things to be alive.
This idea of underneath or detached brings us so neatly to the Buddhist perspective.
It really does.
So we're looking at the Dhammapada, specifically verse 279. This is where we get into the concept of anatta. The verse says, "All things are not self. Seeing this leads to liberation from suffering."
This is a pivotal moment in our deep dive, I think.
Yeah.
We have to look very closely at that phrase, liberation from suffering. In the modern world, especially in the wellness industry, when we hear liberation from suffering, we interpret that as eternal happiness. We think it means a life full of ice cream, sunny days, and positive affirmations.
Right. Feeling good all the time.
Exactly.
I want to be liberated from suffering, so please remove all the traffic jams, difficult emails, and awkward conversations from my life. We treat liberation like a permanent vacation.
We do. We think the solution to suffering is to curate a perfect life. But the Source highlights a crucial distinction here. Liberation does not mean the pursuit of happiness. In fact, the Buddhist texts argue that the frantic pursuit of happiness is often the cause of the suffering.
Okay, that sounds really counterintuitive. How can trying to be happy make me miserable?
Because of the mechanism of binding. The text explains that suffering comes from binding oneself to the experience. When you bind yourself to pleasure, you're terrified of losing it.
Oh, I see.
You're eating a delicious meal, but in the back of your mind, you're already sad that it's going to end. That fear is suffering.
And when you bind yourself to pain,
You're crushed by it, you solidify it, you turn pain into my pain, you give it a home inside you.
so if liberation isn't happiness, what is it? Is it just numbness? Because if I'm not binding to happiness, am I just a robot?
No, and that is a common criticism, that Buddhism is nihilistic or indifferent, but it isn't. Liberation is not attachment. It's the ability to let experiences arrive and depart without snagging on them. The Source uses the imagery of coming and going.
I like the visual of coming and going. It reminds me of sitting on a front porch. You see cars drive by. Some are nice sports cars. Those are the happy thoughts, the triumphs. Some are beat up, rusty trucks. Those are the anxious thoughts, the insecurities. But you don't run out and try to jump into every car that passes. You just watch them go.
That is a perfect analogy for the observer role in Buddhism. The host in our text underscores that the solution is to become the entity that sees the emotions, rather than the entity that is the emotions.
Okay.
When anger arises, the mistake we make is saying, I am angry. We identify with it. We become the anger. We merge with the rusty truck.
And the correction. What's the right way to think about it?
The Buddhist correction would be to say, anger is passing through. Or there's anger occurring right now.
Anger is passing through. That creates distance. It breaks that binding mechanism you were talking about. Sounds like a small linguistic trick, but it feels like it changes the entire physics of the emotion.
It creates a gap. And in that gap, there is freedom. If you see that all things are not self, meaning this anger isn't me, this joy isn't me, they're just weather patterns, then you are free.
So you're not avoiding the rain.
No, but you aren't drowning in it either. You aren't claiming the rain is yours. You are simply the space in which it rains.
It's so interesting because all three of these, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, they're all telling us to stop identifying with the roller coaster. They are all saying you are not the ups and downs.
Yes.
But the Hindu perspective in our stack gives us a specific technical name for the person standing on the ground watching the coaster.
Yes, the Sakshi.
This brings us to the Ashtavakra Gita, chapter 1, verse 3. You are the witness, Sakshi, neither the doer, Karta, nor the enjoyer, Bhokta.
Okay, there is some serious Sanskrit terminology here that we really need to break down to understand the mechanics of this.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the Bhokta. It sounds like a character from a movie.
In a way, it is. The Bhokta translates roughly to the enjoyer or the sufferer. It is the entity that consumes experience.
Consumes it.
The bhokta is the one who eats the fruit of life. When sadness comes, the bhokta tastes the bitterness and grimaces. When joy comes, the bhokta tastes the sweetness and smiles. The bhokta is the one caught in the drama.
So the bhokta is the one crying at the sad movie or cheering when the hero wins.
Yes.
It's the part of me that is totally immersed in the storyline of my life.
Yes.
It's the part of me that feels the stress of the deadline or the thrill of the compliment.
Yes, it is the character in the movie. It's the avatar you are playing. But the verse says, you are not the bhokta.
I know.
You are the sakshi. You are the witness. How is the witness different? Is it just disassociated? Is it checking out?
No, not disassociated, transcendent. The witness watches the bhokta. The witness observes the eating of the fruit. The text describes a fearless stance.
Fearless.
The sakshi does not fear the sadness, and it does not cling to the joy. It simply illuminates them. It is the light that allows the experience to be seen.
That clinging part is so hard. We're hardwired to cling to joy, aren't we? If I'm having a great moment with my family or I'm on a beautiful vacation, I want to freeze time.
Of course.
I don't want to just witness it. I want to own it. I want to keep it in a jar.
But that very desire to freeze time is exactly what creates anxiety. Because deep down, you know time cannot be frozen. You know the vacation will end.
True.
The sakshi realizes the nature of the play. If pleasure comes, it is watched. If pain comes, it is watched. It's a radical disidentification. The host in our notes points out how radical this really is. You are not the person winning or losing the game. You are the awareness watching the game being played.
That's a mind bender. Because I feel like I'm winning or losing. If I lose my job, I feel like the loser. The Ashtavakra Gita is telling me that there is a part of me that is just watching me lose my job. And that part is fine.
Yes. And that part of you is untouched by the job loss.
Yes.
That is the key.
Yeah.
The bhokta is devastated because its identity was, I am a person with a job.
Right.
The sakshi is aware of the devastation, but remains whole. It's like the screen in a movie theater.
Yeah.
The screen can show a raging fire or a flood or a beautiful romance, but the screen itself never gets wet, never gets burned, and never falls in love.
It just holds the image.
It just holds the image.
And we spend our whole lives thinking we're the movie when we're actually the screen.
That is the mistaken identity problem our source identifies. We mistake the content of consciousness for consciousness itself. We mistake the clouds for the sky.
This feels like the perfect time to bring this all together. We've looked at the constant companion in Islam, the spirit in Christianity, the non-self in Buddhism, and the sakshi in Hinduism. When we synthesize this, what is the shared insight? Because they're using different words, different metaphors, different languages, but the map looks exactly the same.
The common thread is striking. None of these traditions ask the human to fundamentally delete pain from existence. They don't promise a life without sorrow.
No, not magical.
No, they don't sell you a ticket to a paradise where nothing ever goes wrong. And none of them advise clutching on to pleasure forever. They all recognize that the external world and our internal emotional reactions are volatile. They're entropy. They will always change.
So the solution isn't fix the world.
No. The solution is fix your vantage point. The expert analysis in our source argues that the root cause of suffering, according to all these texts, is a case of mistaken identity.
Right.
We think we are the flesh. We think we are the nafs. We think we are the bhokta. We think we are the waves on the surface of the ocean thrashing about.
When actually we're the water deep down.
We are the observer of the waves. The source directive is clear. If pain comes, understand it. If pleasure comes, live it. But do not lose yourself in them.
It's the middle path. It's balance. But I want to ask you a practical question because I know the listeners are thinking it. Is this apathy?
Yes.
If I'm just witnessing everything, does that mean I stop caring? If my friend is sick, do I just say, sickness is arising and walk away? Because that sounds cold.
That is the most common danger, spiritual bypassing. But true witnessing is the opposite of apathy. Apathy is a defense mechanism. It's closing your heart because you don't want to get hurt. It's numbness.
Okay.
The witness is fully aware. In fact, you could argue the witness feels more deeply because it isn't frantically trying to run away. It can sit with the pain because it knows the pain cannot destroy it. It can fully enjoy the pleasure because it knows the pleasure isn't necessary for its survival. It is the definition of stability. It allows you to be present for your friend fully without being incapacitated by your own fear.
That is actually really comforting. It takes the pressure off. I don't have to be happy all the time to be spiritually successful. I just have to be aware.
Exactly.
I don't have to force a smile. I just have to notice the frown.
Precisely. You don't have to change the movie.
Yeah.
You just have to remember you are the screen.
Yep.
You don't have to stop the storm. You just have to find the center.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's reflect on where we started. We started with the treadmill, the running toward pleasure and away from pain, that exhausting, frantic energy of trying to manage the unmanageable.
Yes.
And where we landed is stillness.
Pain and pleasure are inevitable parts of the landscape. They are the weather, they will change. But the you that navigates them, the witness, the spirit, the purified self, remains untouched.
Right.
It was never broken, so it does not need to be fixed. It just needs to be recognized.
It's a powerful thought to carry into the week. No matter what chaos is happening at work, no matter what stress is happening at home, there is a center of the storm that is completely calm. And you can go there whenever you remember to just watch.
And that center is you. The observer is always whole. No matter how fragmented life feels, the part of you watching it is unbroken. That is where the balance lies.
That's where we're going to leave it for today. Thank you for taking this journey with us.
It was a pleasure.
We will talk again soon in another new topic.